Um, Very good day to you, wherever you are joining us from. My name is Okiti, and I am the Managing Director of Business Day. I am delighted to welcome all of our guests joining us from, I'm sure, in the times of internet and online, it could be from anywhere. So you are welcome to this very, very important discussion and presentation we are just about to have. So I am sure if you are joining this event, you are joining because since the emergence of COVID-19, the business landscape keeps changing and the outlook for businesses is very, very uncertain. So in a time like this, when things keep changing, the dynamics are changing and the environment is uncertain, everyone is learning to adjust to the environment. So we are in a situation where business leaders, whether you're a small business leader or you run a small company or or you run a big business or you run it from Africa or you run it in the US. The truth of the matter is that we are all confronted with a scale of economic crisis that we probably haven't seen before. And because we have not seen this before, like I said before, everyone is adjusting afresh to something that they have not seen before. So people are asking many questions. Some are asking, will my business survive? But if your business is still surviving 6 months after a very big crisis, so that is already a plus. And some other people are asking, how do I respond to declining revenues? Some are facing situations where maybe their clients' businesses have even closed shop. And some are even asking, where are the new opportunities and how do I identify them? So there are so many questions that people are asking about their businesses today. And there's no better time to have a discussion about how we go about some of these questions. So we have here today, and in partnership with a company called Sapiens and Dr. Toluwanimi Oshinawa, we're going to be talking about seeing the invisible and a different way of doing business. For me, my key understanding there is that if we are seeing things that are different, it quite also requires a different response that we are already used to. And I'm sure he's well equipped to share that, some of his own thoughts with us this morning. So we are grateful to Visa, who has they have sponsored, they are our sponsors this morning. We are grateful for their support and we are grateful for their work in supporting other businesses. So we thank you for that. We are also grateful to our other partners, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, and of course, the Lagos State Chambers of Commerce and Industry. So this is the end of August. We have been on this since the start of the year, depending on which region, and we are still in the middle of it. I believe there are ways in which we can do things to ensure that our businesses survive and will come out at the end of this profitable or even more profitable. And I believe Dr. Shinawa will be sharing his own insights on these matters. So I thank you, and I really do hope that at the end of this program, that you take 1 or 2 or 3 things that ensure that your business does not only survive, but that your business actually thrives. Thank you. Enjoy the discussion. Christabel, you can take over from here.
It's going. Yeah. People are waiting. Should I start? Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry we had a bit of technical issues. My name is Christabel Iriaye, and I'm privileged to be your compere for this event for the next 2 hours or thereabouts. The event has been tagged Seeing the Visible, a Different Way of Doing Business. And if you're joining us on our website or YouTube or our LinkedIn page, you can join the conversation. Do not be left out. If you're joining from the Business Day website, please log on to slido.com. That's slido.com. And you can send in your questions, your comments using the event tag DWDB. DWDB. Thank you very much. Now to set the ball rolling, we have a couple of presentations today. And a few years ago, a mission to connect the world to the most innovative, reliable, and secure payment network led to the founding of a company which today has become the world leader in digital payments. The company's focus on innovation has resulted in several initiatives which have led them to enabling individuals, businesses, and economies to thrive. Today, we are pleased to have Visa as a sponsor for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I make welcome Mr. Andrew Waboy, the country manager, Nigeria, for Visa West Africa. Mr. Andrew, you're welcome. Please give us your opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Christabel, and good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for the opportunity to, share our thoughts at Visa and how we're seeing the whole COVID-19 pandemic playing out, and how we think businesses, particularly small businesses, can position themselves to be able to ride the wave and the challenges that COVID has brought. It's not news, and we all have been, either through the social media or conventional media, have seen what COVID has been doing around the world over the last 5 to 6 months. We've seen how this has impacted small businesses. We hear of businesses that used to thrive in the retail space closing shop because of lack of patronage. It has sent a lot of economies into free fall. Particularly in Europe, that was most hit, and in some parts of America. At the early stage of the pandemic, we at Visa, we wanted to understand what the impact of this whole pandemic would have, not just for economies, but also for businesses and small businesses that appear to be the driving force of any economy. So we conducted a research, and interestingly, what we found from that research was quite stunning. And one of the things that we found was that, for example, 42% of Nigerian consumers have turned to online shopping. This is something that we had always known would grow, but the growth at which we had seen for online shopping has been tremendous during the period of the period of COVID. There are a lot of first-time people using online form of payments because of the fear of contracting the disease, right? And they've also driven the cost and the opportunity around related to doing businesses online, and where we now find that more people are purchasing food, groceries, and even services online rather than going to the physical location of those service or goods providers. So, and we believe that as SMEs are the backbone of any economy or any community, there's a need for us to now use or take advantage of this insight that we've got to help them position to take advantage of what the COVID is bringing or the way it's changing our lives. And one of the significant value that we bring to bear on as a result of this is an initiative that we have that is called Where You Shop Matters. Where You Shop Matters essentially is an initiative that enables small businesses and entrepreneurs and where they can access tools and resources and information to help them start, run, or grow their business online. For us, it's not necessarily an initiative. It's a way of life. It's a movement that we believe that will begin to transcend beyond just taking your business online, but it's going to shape the way we interact from a business standpoint going forward. A call for merchants is to tap into the expertise and the thought leadership that Visa brings to bear in this space. We also have used this initiative to call on consumers to undertake the power of spending and the importance of supporting their local economy. So it's not just you typically just consuming, but you need to be mindful of how you consume, how it supports and helps businesses within your local community. It's also a call to the industry and essentially the ecosystem, to do what we can, and which one of which is how Visa is taking a forefront and driving this whole initiative of Where You Shop Matters by showcasing small businesses and identifying how we can partner with them to make their business not only sustainable but also to thrive in this trying period. It's also about helping business owners to understand what skills they need to acquire to continue to be relevant in the midst of this trying period that we find ourselves in. So for Visa, we are more than happy. We are proud to showcase some of the things that we've done through boot camps, through digital learning sessions, by bringing merchants and online to be able to showcase their products and solutions to a broader range of people and potential markets. And we're proud of many of the things that we are doing with Where You Shop Matters as we begin to see it scale. We have well over 10,000 merchants that have so far onboarded on this platform and that are beginning to see the value that this whole exercise that we're sponsoring can bring to their business. So as a business owner, we're encouraging you to go to www.visa.com.ng to get started because there's a whole world of opportunities that comes to play for your business as you do so. Christabel?
Thank you so much, Mr. Owagbai. Thank you for your time. Thank you to Visa for all that Visa is doing in Nigeria and globally. I particularly like the sound of Where You Shop Matters, connecting lifestyle to business and the value that it's eventually translating to for businesses.
Thank you, Christabel, and thank you, Business Day, for having us today.
Thank you once again, sir. All right. Now to the crux of today's event, the reason most of you took time out to register and attend. We hear that when you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results, that's really the true definition of insanity. And no doubt the times we are in currently are really unprecedented. However, in the midst of this extreme difficult and uncertain times, some people have still been able to identify the opportunities and have leveraged on these opportunities to thrive. Our facilitator today, Dr. Toluwanimi Oshino, will be taking us on the journey of how we can see the invisible as we try to navigate a different way of doing business, even in the midst of extreme difficulty. Dr. Oshinowo is the pioneer of Sapiens and the founder of Cantab Associates. Dr. Oshinowo, good morning. You're welcome to today's event, and we look forward to the insights that you will share and how it will impact on business leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Okay. Am I good to do? Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Business Day, thank you to Visa, and thank you to all of you for joining us this morning. I have a short time with you, and I'm going to have to pack a lot into that short time. So I'd like to ask that you please lend me your mind for the next hour. And I'm saying that quite deliberately. We're going to go on a journey that's going to involve 100% of your attention. How much you get out of this session this morning is going to be driven by how much attention you pay. The price for what you derive will be driven by the attention you pay. There are 4 things I want to go over. If we were to take the full time, how much time it required, these 4 things will take at least 2 days. So I'm trying to summarize and get you the kernel of the essence of what I'm trying to say in 1 hour. Okay, so please pay attention. As Christopher has mentioned, as you have questions as I move along, please make sure to note those and to send those in. Generally, when you don't note your questions when they come, you tend to lose them. So I'd encourage you, capture them when they come, write them down, and send them in. We're going to be taking questions later on. Okay, fantastic. The world is changing. You heard that over and over again. The world is changing. The world is moving from an area of laminar flow to an area of turbulence. From an area of laminar flow to an area of turbulence. Please note something. When I say the world is changing, I am not talking about COVID-19. COVID-19 is part of a broader change. I've been saying the world is changing now before this year, before there was COVID-19. COVID-19 is accelerating something that is more fundamental. And I'd like you to capture what I'm saying here. We are moving from an area of laminar flow to an area of turbulence. On your screen, you can see a fluid section from the bottom left-hand corner to the top right-hand corner. And on the bottom left-hand corner, the fluid is in laminar flow, relative laminar flow. On the top right-hand corner, the fluid is in turbulent flow. In both instances, in both cases, change is happening. In laminar flow, change is happening, but that change is in equilibrium. There is an equilibrium of forces that causes things to maintain a sort of dynamic equilibrium. And what does that mean? Well, to the general observer, change tends to be predictable. The way you experience that is that when you look at changes that happen in your environment, they make sense. They make sense because they are obeying a fundamental set of governing rules. There are governing rules that drive the system, that keep the system on its tracks, that determine the lower order changes, that govern those changes. So on one level, change is happening, but they are happening in a dynamic sense relative to a generally fixed set of governing rules. How that is experienced is that, like I said, number one, things make sense when changes happen. The rules of the game are consolidated. So what happens generally is that when leaders continue to lead and people, companies and institutions with influence consolidate their influence because they have mastered a set of governing rules and they are riding on that mastery to consolidate influence. That is laminar flow. Industry leaders consolidate influence. The rules of the game are the same. We are moving into a period of turbulent flow. That is very different. Please pay attention here. It's very important to understand what I'm saying. In turbulent flow, like in laminar flow, change is happening. But this change is now in disequilibrium. So what is happening is that there is a fundamental shifting of tectonic plates. It is like the change in landscape or the continental shift that happens when tectonic plates begin to move and rearrange themselves. It means that global geography is going to enter a new norm. It means that the maps that you have used to navigate yourself up till now will become obsolete because the geography against which those are mapped is changing. In turbulent flow, the
Wow.
happened over here. We just realized that you'd lost us. So back to the slides on your screen. Like I was saying, the world is changing. We are moving from laminar flow, we're moving to turbulent flow. I'd already said that in laminar flow, what you have is an equilibrium that is resultant of dynamic change. So change is happening because change is happening even though the rules of the game themselves are not changing. So it's second order change, not first order change. And that is what we have in laminar flow. We said leaders consolidate influence. The rules of the game are the same, more or less. And therefore, there is a sort of predictability. The change is predictable. So people are less disoriented by the change they observe. There is a less disorientation experienced by casual observers. That is changing to turbulence. In turbulence, what is happening in turbulence is that even though there is change happening in turbulence, like there is change happening in laminar flow, in turbulence, the underlying rules, the governing function of the system is resetting. There is a resetting process of the governing function, which results in more sustained change. And I compare that to the change in geography that happens when continental shelves move. When there is a move when there is a shift in the continental shelves, when the tectonic plates underneath our feet themselves are moving, then the geography is set to change. And so the maps that you used to navigate up until now will lose their relevance in a new geography. The way you experience that generally is greater disorientation. Now, here is the rub, and here's where I need you to pay attention. You are looking at your screen, and it seems obvious that things are changing from the diagram that you're observing. But in real life, you are not an observer in the sense in which you are in this presentation. In real life, you are a participant. So you are inside that fluid column. You are part of that flow. And unfortunately, there is no signpost that says, thank you for visiting laminar flow. Welcome to turbulence. So what happens is that most of the time, people have gotten well into the turbulence area of the screen before they begin to retrospectively realize that, wait a minute, there have been some fundamental changes. And at that point, it is rather late to begin to adapt to a new reality. So when we say new normal, please understand, when I say new normal, I am not talking about a new normal because of COVID-19. That's not what I'm talking about. COVID-19 is simply accelerating or may simply accelerate something that has preceded this year, something that is more fundamental. Fundamental changes in the way society works, in the way businesses operate, in the governing function that then determine the things that you see. At this point, it is important to note, when change is happening from laminar to turbulent flow, the temptation that most people have is to react and not to respond. What do I mean by that? So people often ask me, what do you think about COVID-19? What do you think is happening? What are the opportunities here? What should we guard against? Those are good questions, no doubt. But again, those are reactive questions. Those questions will only get you so far, because you need to look beyond what is obvious to everyone else to see what is really going on and what transcends the current event or the current news headline. So there is an important distinction I want to draw here between reacting and responding. So I made point one. Point one is the world is changing, and it's changing in an unusual way. It's not the first time it's happened. The world has gone through this kind of seismic changes before. When fundamental shifts happen, what happens is that it throws up the opportunity for there to be winners and for there to be losers. Winners are people who respond and don't just react. What is the difference between responding and reacting? That's point two. Point two is you need to respond and not just react. So here's the key point to note here. People react because they see only what is visible. I repeat, people react because they see only what is visible. Let me explain that. When I talk to leaders, when I get to talk to people who are decision makers, one of the things I'm looking for, one of the things that's important to note is that as a leader, you are a guardian of the future. You are the gatekeeper for what we see tomorrow. So what is happening today did not start today. What is visible, obvious, that everybody can see that is happening today is a result of something that was invisible and not obvious that was already going on yesterday. The invisible gives birth to the visible. The invisible gives birth to the visible. And this is something, if there's only one thing that they're going to take home, I'm making 4 points. This is my point 2. If there's only one thing, then you have to take this. A lot of leaders are thinking the way others are thinking. What makes you a leader is your ability to see what others are not seeing. It's your ability to pierce through what is obvious and begin to discern not obvious. What happens in the visible, what the results that you want that are visible and tangible are born out of the ideas that govern what is going on. Ideas which are invisible govern results which are invisible. And by ideas, I mean the network framework of ideas that the ideas are like the puppet masters.
Tutu Fellow from the African Leadership Initiative and South Africa. And he's the founder of the September 20 Foundation, as well as the CEO of NU Retail, of course.
To react is simply to respond to second order stimuli. To respond is to dig deeper beyond second order stimuli, beyond third order stimuli, to get down to the root of the issue. And I was making the point that to understand this distinction, you need to understand that the visible comes out of the invisible. Today's ideas are tomorrow's results. In fact, what a lot of people think they should do, they are like, what did Sweden do? Okay, so maybe there are yellow mass transit buses in Sweden. Let's get the same type of mass transit buses. Sweden has good roads. Let's build good roads. Sweden has good electricity. Let's have good electricity. That is missing the whole point. Sweden looks the way Sweden looks because there is an invisible set of ideas that is governing the results that you see. Until you understand that and grapple with that and deal with the matter at that level, you miss out on really getting the same results or even better results. Reacting is about responding to visible stimuli only. Responding is about capturing the essence of the invisible stimuli that is sponsoring the visible. I cannot overemphasize this. For a lot of us, this will involve a reprogramming of our minds, an active looking at the world differently. But if you are going to take advantage of what is going on right now, you have to take your eyes just off COVID-19. And I know that a lot of businesses are trying to survive, and that is okay. But I'm saying while you're trying to do that, and if you're still here, then well done, and you're doing a good job. But I would like to implore you to take the opportunity to spend your time and resources not just on the obvious, but on what is less obvious. A lot of leaders find themselves spending a lot of time and capital firefighting situations that have come up, and very little time taking their role as the midwives of tomorrow seriously. As a leader, you are midwifing tomorrow. It is the ideas that you can capture today. It is the idea network at work today that determines what you see tomorrow. This is important to note. If you do not note this, what is going to happen is that you're going to find yourself going in circles. So I want to show you this diagram on the screen. What happens is that you one crisis, you get through one situation, you pat yourself on the back, and before you know it, you have another situation which you think is different. But in essence, it's really yesterday's problem, but wearing new clothes. And because you haven't addressed your thinking, you haven't addressed things at the idea level, so you have the same old results and the same old situations. It may not obviously be the same, but when you dig a little deeper, you're going to find it's the same ideas that are causing the same type of problems in different places and in different ways. And a lot of leaders, a lot of businesses find themselves caught in this cycle. And so what I'm saying today is that you want to break out of this cycle. Today it's COVID-19. Tomorrow is going to be something else. Yesterday it was something else. But it is the same, it is the idea grid, the idea framework you're operating with, the map that you're using, that is the real issue, not the situation around you. So in addressing the invisible, we have to address the ideas that we are hosting, the ideas that we have given way to, the ideas, what is governing why you do things the way you do things, what's governing why your business is the way it is, what's governing the reactions that you are able to marshal are driven by an internal greed that you have yielded to, that you've allowed to run things. Okay? So I would like to, just to reiterate this point, I'd like to play a short video by Jordan Peterson, which is addressing this point in other words. So we're going to just turn on to a short video now.
Submitted.
Okay. Yes, so I'm not sure you were able to hear that. Unfortunately, the video was showing, but the audio just didn't catch up. So we're just going to move on past that video. The point remains, however. Point one, the world is changing. Point two, if you react instead of responding, you are going to lose the opportunity to truly be positioned for the real change that is going on. If you react instead of responding. So we want to move you from just reacting to responding. And responding is by realizing that the invisible runs the visible. You have to focus, you have to pay enough attention to the things that are not grabbing, that are not vying for your attention. The ability to see the things that are really, truly important, but don't seem urgent on the surface. Okay? So that leads me to point three. Point three is this. If I were to ask you, if there was a project, a business project, or a situation or a question you were trying to solve in your business or in your function, in your organization, whatever it is, and I were to ask you for a project, what is the most important thing? I've asked this question to different groups at different levels and different locations. Typically, one of the most common answers you get is planning. Some people say strategy, and then you get a range of other answers. And those answers, whether you realize it or not, are fueled by what we are taught and what we are told. Okay? I want to make a case to you here about the single most important part of responding that determines what happens in the future. If you are going to spend most of your time, this is where you should spend most of your time. You cannot spend so much time doing this. Before and more important than planning or strategy, and that you can define strategy in your way, strategy is a buzzword these days, and people come at it from different ways, different angles. The most important thing if you can't see that, I just wrote light. Light. Illumination. Another word for that is understanding. Understanding. The ability to get an accurate picture of what is outside your direct control. I'm going to come at that from a different angle. You see with your eyes, but you gain insight with your mind. The actual faculty for seeing is the mind. And the ability to see reality is called understanding. And you see to the level of your light. The ability to see is called understanding. You do not see something because it is there. You see something, whatever you see is a function of your eye. I'm going to look very quickly at the physical eye. Your physical eye is a good analogy for what I'm trying to describe. Most people will remember this diagram from elementary science. And there's no need to understand this diagram. There are just three parts I want to bring to your attention. Number one is the object, which is outside the eye. And number two is the image, which is passive observer.